Said I'm taking big shots, just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. They been trying to get me cheap like a thrift shop, but I told them it's my time, shit the wristwatch. They been talking way before they even doing something. Whoa. If they wanna play, let's get a tip off. Ain't no silver lining, dawg, this some rose gold. Getting new money, I'm a old soul. Yeah, I get it bouncing like a pogo. Whoa. And I'm too cold like Frozone. And my chick elastic, girl. Told him we ain't in the faking, this ain't plastic, girl. Bought a new whip and cash, now my taxi thorough. Way I'm shooting like step with my passes, bro. The way I'm playing the field, I'm in a league of my own. And now they all in their fields, I got them all on my phone. But dog, I'm hitting the climb, I got no time on the low. Way I'm shooting is messy, the way I'm hitting the goals. I'm taking big shots, just stop. Way I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. I just left, but you know I'm coming back though. Whoa. And you know I don't play by my rags though. Now go and turn it up to the max, whoa. Send a paper to me now like a fax, whoa. Yeah. Got 2 phones ringing off the hook now. When I'm in the city, I get looks now. I was going bad, but I'm good now. Said I had to go and put my foot down. Told him I'ma get it and go. Even in the summer, man, they knowing I'm cold. I got a couple checks coming that I made out the flows. Might get a couple more popping if I do it some more. I gotta do it for real. Said I'm back in my bag. All my digits are climbing just like they all on a dash. And they tell me slow down cause dog, I'm moving too fast. Might go and cop me a Tesla cause dog, I still got a gas. Said I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots. Just stop where I'm driven, no pit stops. This hot, I ain't playing like a 6 spot. Pissed off, thought I told him this a chip shot. I ain't missing cause you know I'm taking big shots.
What's next for me, Joe? I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the f is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. And stop the threats, so nobody's into me. I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close. I've been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I seen too many people that switched up, whose man's high. Through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God, I can't lie. Been down so damn low that I came up for my life. They talk way too much on the internet, it's not real life. I swear my fam waiting, I can't lose and I'm still right. Still right, I swear that I'm working them up till like midnight. It's real life, I got a time and I'm coming to get mine. In time, I cannot lose and I'm coming right inside. I'm in my, yeah.
Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Ayy, on the road, here we go. Yeah, we winning by a landslide. Never see me coming on my landmine. Yeah, I ain't taking orders in command like. Yeah, you about to see me on demand like. You know on demand. If you ain't know, you about to understand. Yeah, I got the team by my side, right hand. Yeah, take it to a string, you ain't seen it like that. Yeah, and it's the dream, and we coming for the bag. Yeah, and we ain't never going back now. Future expedited, now we on the fast track now. They won't lend a hand, now they see us on the map now. It's time to act out. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the road, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the road, here we go, here we go. Here we go, at the top of the class on a roll. And it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Hey, on the roll, here we go, yeah. At the top of the class on a roll. Hey, and it's time to run it up, yeah, you know. Yeah, maxed out, put the pedal to the floor. Yeah, on the roll, here we go, here we go. Here we go. On a roll, here we go, here we go.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Frankie Candles live stream every single weekday right here at 5:49 p.m. Are we going to get the Santa rally, guys? We're running out of time for the Santa rally. Bitcoin, just absolute chaos here, guys. We're gonna jump on into the charts. I'm gonna show you some key levels on the higher time frames and also locally, as we have just taken out a local low. It's not the one I wanted to take, and I am really still preferring to come down and take that lower low, not deeper low. But yeah, are we going to get the bounce, guys? Are we going to be able to have that Santa rally? We do have the money flow on the daily trying to come up. We got the high time frame on the higher daily coming out. We have a ton of mixed signals, guys. I wanted to cover the bearish and the bullish case, because with how choppy Bitcoin is right now, guys, it is very, very difficult, at least on the lower time frames, to figure out what this thing is going to do. Higher time frames a little bit more clear, but I'm going to cover the bearish case, the bullish case. I'll let you guys know which way I'm leaning, and then we'll jump into the lower time frames, and I'll show you some local key levels and some of the next areas where I will be looking for some good reactions. But shout out to the CandleMafia. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's see who we got in here. We got Fantasy Killer said, we blame Coca-Cola to turn Santa red. Shout out to Fantasy Killer. Well, oh man, I guess, yeah, isn't that weird? Like Coca-Cola is like a bit like the brand of Santa. That is interesting. But let's see. We got, God, man, I think I'm losing my eyesight here, guys. I literally need to zoom in on the chat. Let's see. We got Typics in the chat. What is going on? We got Behind saying, help me. Holy Frankie. Shout out to Bailey. What is coming, guys? Is the dump going to continue? Well, we have been looking at that low at about $80,500. Are we going down to take that low, guys? I am suspicious of it, and I'll show you exactly why. But we got BGSP in the chat. We got Gen Z Stupid Bitcoin. Erica, welcome in. Elite female CandleMafia member. Shout out to Erica. Welcome in. We got Jesse, Rob the Crypto Snob, and I'm sure Darren is in here somewhere holding it down in the chat. Thank you guys for everything you do. Show the mod some love in the chat, guys. Don't forget, if you could, please smash that like button in this. Yo, let's go. There is Golden. Hey, Golden, just so you know, the wire isn't long enough, but I did relabel the sound on the board here as the golden button. So shout out to Golden gifting the 50 Frankie Candles memberships. Let's go, baby. Let's go. Spam those golden emojis in the chat. If you love golden as much as we do, bro, you are so generous. Thank you. And not just generous to the channel. Obviously, guys, these memberships are not cheap, but generous to the CandleMafia. If you just got a membership, drop that golden emoji in the chat. We're starting the night off right. Golden, hey, I hate to ask for something, but could you pump it real quick? That would be super great. Shout out to Golden, bro. Welcome in. I hope you're doing well. And, well, now that we got that, let's go ahead and start the stream off here on a high note, baby. Without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the charts. Let's get into it. All right. He said, nope, not a chance. That means Golden is probably waiting for some lower prices, which is a little bit alarming. But shout out to Golden, bro. Let us know what you're thinking, bro. Let us know what you're thinking. But let's see. All right. Save us, Golden. Shout out to Panda the Prophet. Bullish news only. All right. Shout out to Coin Hoover, guys. Massive pump on the 1 second time frame here, guys. As you can see, we're printing more invisible candles. I'm just kidding. If you guys watched the stream a couple days ago, we were on that 1 second time frame. That was kind of fun. But very dangerous. You don't want to know what I'm thinking, Frankie. Shout out to Krishamella. Hey, I will also say, Tony D did go back and get every comment you ever sent, every out-of-pocket comment, Krishamella. I'm not even kidding you. And he sent it to me. I have a feeling I'm going to get those framed for Christmas, which would be hilarious. We will post about that if that is the case, but we're going to have to blur out all the chats. But anyway, guys, let's jump in here. So obviously, as Bitcoin continues this absolutely insane, wonky, choppy price action here, guys, and you can just see here, we got the push up to about $90,400. If we pull up our key levels, I'm actually on the wrong chart here. You guys know we were looking at this zone for a potential rejection. We had some weekly and some weekly horizontal and some other MPOCs up in here, starting that zone off at about 92,250 or 90,250. We came straight up. Literally, Bitcoin gave, I talked about this yesterday, giving like almost no opportunity to enter the trade. We did have the setup in the Discord, but literally the only kind of confirmations we got here were the higher highs on our price action, lower highs on our momentum waves, bearish divergences on the 1 minute time frame. Literally only the 1 minute. If you were not there on the 1 minute time frame, there was almost no opportunity to enter. Got the big dump back to the downside. Wound up playing out there very nicely. And, of course, let me turn off these anchored VWAPs. There is still resistance up here, guys. I'm going to cover that because at the end of the day, I am really still mostly interested in the bigger levels here. It has been a long time since I have gone, this week, I think I've taken one trade, maybe. Other than that, I have been sitting on my hands. I was saying to the premium Discord, guys, I've been sitting on my hands personally for so long that my hands are getting numb, but just super choppy price action. Like ever since, this entire range has just been super wonked out, super choppy. Have taken a bunch of trades in here, but recently, like in this, guys, super, super difficult price action to trade here. So if you're getting chopped up, don't feel bad, and maybe, just sit out, right? If you don't feel confident, just sit out. And, like I said, I am not chasing these crazy trades. I would have taken the short up here if I was on the chart on the 1 minute, but I actually was editing a video, which is probably maybe coming out tomorrow. We might drop that video tomorrow, guys. I'm contemplating maybe saving it for Christmas week, but that will be coming out very soon. But at the end of the day, guys, we tried to get back into the volume profile. We flipped it. We went up to our key level of resistance. We slipped back out of it. We bounced off the golden pocket, back into the range. We got a little push up. Now we're just getting the big drop back down. Absolute chaos here. But we haven't just taken out this local low here, guys. Now, as you know, I'm going to kind of cover the bigger levels that I'm interested in personally because these are going to be the more significant levels to look at anyway. And at the end of the day, guys, I always do this, right? Pulling up the major MPOCs, and I'll even pull up the daily down here. The next biggest level here on the higher time frames for me personally is going to be, well, I guess not for me personally, but the ones I'm paying attention to are sitting down here between 79,500 or 79,500, probably 79,520, right? So 79,520 all the way down to 78,550 at our weekly NPOC. And, of course, that goal would be to take out this low here at 80,500. This is what we've been waiting for. Bitcoin tries to get the move up. Oh, my God, no. And then Bitcoin tries to get, oh, my God, no, right? And we are approaching very, very critical support, right? We have the last level on the chart here. Now, we have not come into that level just yet, and this does still remain the next level, right? 79,520 to 78,550 is the only other horizontal macro level of support I can see, and I would actually prefer to see that level taken out before I start looking for major long positions. There is another place I will be looking. We covered this on the market update yesterday. We do have this low down here, which is sitting at about $83,755. I thought we were going to take it here. I'm going to talk about this local price action as well and pull up some hyper local levels for you guys as we are seeing a little bit of a bounce. I'll kind of explain that situation. But at the end of the day, right, like the two major levels I've been interested in are obviously sitting down Come on. There we go. Obviously sitting down here. And then also we have the 786 sitting here at about 83,520. And if we were able to come down and sweep out this low, guys, and get some bullish confirmations, I will be interested in potential scalp long positions. If it wants to turn into a bigger trade, flip the value area low, give us a little bit of a Santa rally into $91,000 and potentially beyond, where I will cover the next major level of resistance, which a lot of you guys are familiar with. But we're just on our way here, right? Like, we have not swept it yet. And, these are just really the next two levels that I'm interested in. We've just been sitting here. Like, Bitcoin does not want to come down here for some reason. And I'm still just sitting on my hands, guys. If there's no real legitimate confirmations, maybe a little bit of a scalp opportunity down here, not a signal. But I'm just, I have my alert set here. And I did have my alerts set down here as well. Let me go ahead and set an alert on this level as well. So got the alert set here, got the alert set here. And then the next major level of resistance to the upside, not locally, but macro-wise, is going to be, I'm going to take this local daily off the chart. It's still sitting up here, guys. 97 to $96,300. Now, of course, that daily MPOC I just took off the chart is technically valid, so this could technically come down there. So this zone still does sit between about 95,300 all the way into about 97,524. And, if we take our local range off the chart, we also have this level here. I'll cover this in a minute. I would consider this a little bit more local. But the next major levels, guys, at the end of the day, really going to be these two levels, up here and up here. 79,520 to 78,550, and then to the upside, 95,3 all the way up to 97,6. And that's pretty much it, right? That's not it for the update, right? But that is pretty much what I'm looking at for the next major levels. Other than that, it's kind of just local, wonky, ranging price action. Super low probability trading environment. Please, for the love of God, be careful out there, guys. Even here, we got the push up, instant drop to the downside. We got the push up, instant drop to the downside. Super sketchy price action. Please use your stop losses, guys. If there's a time to practice risk management, this is it. So there you go, right? Those are the next major levels. And then locally, if we come down here to take out this low at 83.7, I will be potentially interested in some scalp long positions. Not just setting limit orders, but looking for very specific bullish confirmations before looking for another push to the upside. If we do get the bounce there, or at the end of the day, even if we get the bounce from here, right? Major local levels to flip, $87,000 value area low, right? We obviously are having a big problem getting back in here, right? But at the end of the day, if we are able to flip that, technically the doorway does open, and we'll just ignore this price action for now. If we do get back above $87,000, the next local level of resistance for me personally is going to be sitting right up here. We have the golden pocket, the POC, and the 786, somewhat confluent, and I'm going to pull up other levels as well. But of course, if we flip the value area low, the doorway to the POC is open. That is obviously confluent with our POC and our golden pocket. And we also have our anchored VWAP coming in here, pulled from this significant high at about 107,400. Right, so you got nice 3 levels of confluence in there: golden pocket, anchored VWAP, POC, and your that's it. Anchored VWAP, golden pocket, POC. But if we pull up some of these horizontal levels, we have a daily on top of this 786, right? So the local levels of resistance, this is technically a bigger zone, right? So it's technically from 90,677 to about 92,522. And let me just re-pull up these MPOCs, make sure we're not missing anything. Pull up the weekly. Is this naked? This is not naked. This is tapped, so I could take that off. So there you go, right? Within this range, of course, right? Like, same thing as when we came up here the other day. Flipping the value area low does open the door to the POC, right? This is how the laws of the volume profile work, but we were very suspicious because we had this daily naked point of control that we had sitting down here. We also had a weekly horizontal, right? So at that time, the level was right here. And we wound up projecting, right? And it kind of takes a little bit of market experience to understand like when you're going to get that full push into the POC. But on the live stream, we talked about how we would be a little suspicious of potentially even coming into that point of control, right? Because you have major resistance ahead of it. You don't know if you're going to reject the beginning of the box or if you're going to push into that actual POC. And we wound up rejecting beforehand, right? But now that we have tapped into those levels, the next major level of resistance sits at 90,677 to 92,522. So at the end of the day, get back in here, looking to push up in there. And I will be interested in short positions here. It's not always that I am interested in short positions at a POC, but in the case here, maybe I could actually pull up the premium Discord real quick. We did have the setup there, although I was not there to take it. we obviously were, a lot of people ask me how we run the premium Discord, and of course, I don't want to share any current stuff, but there it is, right? We have the weekly, the daily, the golden pocket, and the POC. It's that same zone, right? But now that zone has moved up because these are now tapped. Those levels are not there, so we move that box up to the golden pocket. But there you go, right? Push into the zone, instant drop to the downside. But now that those levels are tapped, that level of resistance sits here, right? So if we are able to flip $87,000, I will be looking up in here for the next local level of resistance. If we get above the POC, right, this zone does run up to 92,500, right? So you could kind of do something like this, right, before getting the drop back to the downside. And then if we flip that 786, of course we have the value area high. We will be looking at that as a local level, but at the end of the day, guys, I would much, much prefer to come into the bigger level up here. Why is that? Well, it's because we have much more confluence up here. Value area high is kind of on its lonesome there. Doesn't mean you can't get the reactions, right? We had the short positions and took those short positions up here. We still have that zone up here on the key levels and all that confluence. But, of course, when you get pushed into the value area high with those bearish confirmations, it's always an opportunity for a short. We went ahead and took that in the Discord and wound up playing out very nicely. We even had a setup from the second approach up here, which also is currently playing out very nicely. So it's kind of the same thing, right? If we get into that value area high, definitely resistance. It's just kind of by its lonesome here. You know, the bigger level is going to be sitting up here on all that confluence between 95.3 and 97.5. So those are the major big levels to look at, in my opinion. Other than that, guys, super difficult price action here. You know, it's even taking out this low, and I'll kind of cover the hyper local levels now before we move into some more of the altcoins. Let me just go ahead and hide this stuff, right? So if we pull up the scalp levels here, right? We got this super hyper local volume profile. Again, if you're not scalping the super low time frames, guys, I would ignore this. But you know, what do we get here, right? We got a little sweep of this local low. If this was a low time frame SFP, if we had like a 1 hour SFP, maybe a 30-minute, 45-minute SFP, this would almost, you know, 100% of the time be a beautiful long setup. But you can see we didn't really get the SFP here, right? We close these candles down below. The only thing I can see happening here is maybe like not even a 4-hour SFP. Not a 5-hour SFP, but maybe we get like a 6-hour SFP at the end of the day, guys. If we get that, maybe we get a push up. But like I said, I would much prefer to see this low taken at $83,755, right? So if we do wind up reclaiming this value area low, which of course we are hitting our head on right now, if we can flip this, maybe we can get a little local push to the upside into the POC in the value area high between 87.7 and 88.2. But there's not a ton of confirmation down here. We did get some low time frame bull divs, but literally it's like on 2 time frames, right? Lower lows on your price action, deviation below the low. It's not even really how I like to see these bull divs. I prefer to see the bullish divergences print outside of the value area. So something like that would have been much better in my opinion. So just like super wonky confirmations, right? You have the 5-minute money flow attempting to come up. Now it's coming back out. Again, super low probability trading environment. However, if we are able to flip that value area low sitting at $85,500, maybe we can get a little push to the upside, right? Now the one time frame here, I'm going to kind of come up to the higher time frames, right? Daily VWAP, we had this coming up yesterday. Money flow attempting to trend to the upside here, but you can see we're getting a little rejection here on the VWAP. Again, just not looking super beautiful, right? We need to let this play out. And if we are going to see some kind of a bigger Santa rally, again, pulling up the higher time frames, and if you guys just want to get this on your chart for the local range, value area low 85.5, POC 87.650, and then the value area high at 88.251, right? At the end of the day, just treat it as a volume profile. Maybe we come down, get a bull div, come back up, flip it to support, get the push through, right? Unless we just reclaim here. But again, I just don't love the confirmations down here. I'm happy to miss that, to be honest with you. If we come up to the highs, right, of course, opportunities for scalps, right? Deviate above the high. Of course, you need the confirmations. You're not just randomly shorting the value area highs or longing the value area lows. You need some kind of confirmation. Like I said, if I had a clean SFP here, I would 100% take that trade any day of the week. But other than that, right, let's take this off the chart. If we want some kind of a bigger Santa rally, let's come up to these higher time frames, guys. You can see, obviously, as we've been talking about forever here, we are really playing around with this major key level, which is the 786, guys, which is, again, why I'm not a huge fan of this low. Maybe we get the scalps, but if we lose this 786, guys, my anticipation is that we are very likely to come down and take that low at $80,500 into our next major key level of support, sitting right down here, right? And, of course, right, daily money flow attempting to come up, kind of, right? Like locally, if we zoom in here, I'm actually going to darken this up a little bit. Give me 1 second here, guys. right? You can see just kind of wiggling around. Is this going to dump, or is it going to just create a little bit of a higher low and continue up? It's anybody's guess at this point. But, we need that green dot on the daily with the money flow coming up. If we're able to get the green dot on the daily, whether we come up to sweep the lows or we come up from where we are now, if we start seeing that push up and we see this money flow start to cross into the green, I think that's what you need for a Santa rally, right? Because then that daily money flow can give you, a potentially, week-long uptrend, which could give you maybe a push into that $97,000 key zone that we just talked about. And if we can get above there, of course, right, we could pull up our major macro volume profile, right, get above that zone. Of course, that does open the door to our next major key level of resistance, which sits at around, let me pull up the 50-week moving average here real quick. Right, you have the 50-week moving average sitting at about 102K, so, I'm not necessarily going to be looking right up to 108K. I would be more inclined to be looking towards about $102,000 to $105,000, right? You got the daily, the weekly. Let me just make sure. Just make sure I'm not missing anything there. Yeah. So you have the 50-week moving average at $102,000. You have the weekly MPOC and the daily up here towards about 105K. If we get a Santa rally, I'll take this golden pocket off because obviously that is lost, right? The overall longer-term context here, guys, we just covered lower ranges, right? Like these are just all super local. But if we do get some kind of a significant rally, right, we still need to reclaim this value area low, push into the POC at 97K. If we can flip that, hey, that would be super exciting, right? And I think a lot of people are hoping for this. It's not guaranteed, right? At the end of the day, we could very easily see just this thing roll over from here and get the bigger drop to the downside, right? If I had massive bullish confirmations, if we have massive bullish divergences down here on the daily, it would look a lot better, but we just don't have a lot of huge confirmation here. So at the end of the day, if we get up here, 97K would be a huge target. If we get above there, I'm not really looking much higher as of right now. I'm not looking higher than about 102 to 105K. And that's if we're lucky, guys. That's if we're lucky. I hope it happens. It would be very nice. Make the holidays a little more enjoyable, right? Because we're not just seeing everything bleed out while you're trying to celebrate and have fun with your family. But there you go, right? Like, and this is just not anything new, right? There's just like not a ton of updates here. You guys, I didn't even go live last night. It's like there's just nothing to talk about. I dropped the market update, of course, but it's just like it's really hard to get up here. Number one, price action is just kind of stagnant, right, and super wonky with mixed signals, right? And then on top of that, it's like if I want to look at the clear signals, such as the ones on the higher time frames, right, the 6-day money flow crossover into the red, right, the 4-day VWAP coming down, looking to print a red dot with money flow coming out. It's like, I don't want to continue to talk about this, right? No one wants to hear it. I think everybody kind of knows this stuff is going on, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. These high time frames do look bearish, right? And I do think if we get the bigger rally, right, it's probably going to be more of, if it's a Santa rally, right, great, that'd be awesome timing. Again, enjoy the holidays. But I'm going to be very suspicious on those pushes to the upside, to be quite honest with you, right? That 50-week moving average is going to be massive resistance, and it's also confluent with other horizontal key resistance levels, and that's if we get up there, right? We still have the massive zone here at 95 to 97K. So we got a lot of work to do here for, even if we got a rally from here to 97K, 14% pump would feel real nice right now. But it's really hard to call for that when you have all these high time frame red dots, right? The 3-day red dot is confirmed, 4-day red dot looking to print, your 5-day VWAP is rolling over, and all this money flow is in the red, right? Like this does indicate probably a higher time frame, even if we do get the push up, lower highs and lower lows. I don't know how this is going to look price action wise, right? If we pull the fractal here from 2021, as we have a million times in the past, okay, that was 2 anchored VWAPs. Everybody calm down. Oh my God, we're losing control. Right? Actually, let me just pull it from here, right? From the high, right? We cover this like all the time. This is why I don't really want to, it's boring for me to continue come up and talk about the same things, right? But, this is obviously looking very similar to how this has played out in the past, right? You get the first drop down, right? Maybe we catch support on the 786, and, this is the 50-week moving average. It's exactly where this has come in as resistance. So, it's proven to be impossible to get above this level. That's why it doesn't mean we can't get above it this time, right? But I am going to be very suspicious. There's a reason why I'm going to be very, very cautious around that 50-week moving average. Not only in 2021, in 2017, and even in 2014, also, we could not get above that level, right? So I'm just going to leave that there. I think everybody's like, all right, we've heard this before, and that's why I'm kind of not covering it as much, because no one wants to hear it, and I feel an obligation to say it, right? Because if no one else is looking at that, I don't want to be, I don't know who else, I don't know if anybody else is kind of, I assume most people are probably just trying to push the bullish narrative. And it's not that there is no bullish argument, but I would say that the bearish puzzle pieces definitely outweigh the bullish. The bearish puzzle pieces outweigh the bullish puzzle pieces here, at least from a chart perspective. And it's okay, right? There are bullish puzzle pieces as well, but you can't just look at that, right? They're there, they're legit, right? But you can't just ignore the high time frame on the chart, right? Two things can be true at the same time, right? You could have bullish things, you could have bearish things. You can't just only look at one, just like me, right? I'm not only saying that we have to 100% guaranteed go into a bear market if we retrace here and get the rejection, right? But that would be my higher probability thought, right? But if we flip that, right? Well, hey, I'm not just going to stick there and, stay a bear forever, right? I'm going to flip with the chart. So there you go. All right, let's jump back into the chat. Golden with the super chat, bro. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. He said, my prediction, not financial advice. Investments get taxed, but investments don't get taxed, but capital gains do. So New Year's Eve, we might see a small pump, but January 1st or 2nd, it dumps. Money just has to be in an investment before New Year's Eve to not get taxed. Shout out to Golden. Let's see, Golden. If that happens, I'm gonna put your emoji on the thumbnail. If we're pumping on New Year's Eve, I will do like an emergency update, and I'm putting the golden emoji on the thumbnail. Tony D, remind me of that. We're gonna do that. We'll put golden emoji with hands holding a crystal ball. Shout out to Golden, bro. I think it's a plausible. Prediction. Let's see. Everyone is expecting the move back to the 21 SMA. You know they won't let it happen. Shout out to Div X-Ray. Yeah, I mean, it for sure, right? Like anytime the masses are looking at one thing, right, it does kind of, in my opinion, lower the probabilities. I talk about this all the time. If we have if the charts are bearish and the masses are bullish, right, that kind of makes me more confident in the charts. But if the masses are bearish and the chart is bearish, I just go with the charts, right? But I would say, yeah, the masses are wrong most of the time, and the market maker just likes to step on everybody. That is for sure. Shout out to Bailey, said, Frankie, I closed my longs in profit. Looks like Bitcoin is trying to reject the anchor VWAP from the January 2024 low and the macro 786 with the value area low. Shout out to Bailey, closing it in profit, bro. Congratulations. Not a lot of people could do that, bro. Not a lot of people could do that. Most people hold it until they're like, it'll go back up. It'll go back up. It'll go higher. I'll make more money. Can you take me higher? Anyway, let's see. Tony D said, will do. Thank you. Shout out to Div X-Ray, said, you're all cooked if the market you're all cooked if in markets get out now. Take the smaller loss instead of losing everything. You never know if it will ever go back up. Wake up, save some capital. Yeah, shout out to Div X-Ray. I think that's a huge mindset shift for a lot of people, right? It's like everybody's just chasing that huge gain, chasing that I want $1 million, right? Whatever it is, 100 grand, 10 grand, whatever it is for you, right? And they're not thinking like I started with this much and now I have a lot more. Maybe the market doesn't care about my monetary goal, right? What is the market going to care about, right? The market's going to care about price action, liquidity, and business cycles, essentially, liquidity cycles. So yeah, I always kind of tell people, even within a bull run, take off some of these higher time frame levels. Within a bull run, right? Like you want to set your targets, right? And we had very clear targets this cycle ever since we were DCing in here at the bottom with the weekly money flow crossover into the red. And number one, right? Obviously, all-time highs. Major target, not that I would expect this to be the top of the bull run, but my major bull market targets once we broke out of the all-time high for real, right? Obviously, we did get a little breakout here. But once we saw massive new all-time highs, our major targets, guys, were between $92,000 and $102,000. And it's just funny, right? People will say TA is astrology for crypto bros, but is it really, right? Well, if it was, we would never make any money and I would be out of a job. But there we go, right? Let me pull it from, actually, I think I still have these up here. See if I can pull it up on the cycle chart. On the Bitstamp chart. There we go. Where's it at? I might have deleted them. But either way, I'll just pull it up over here. You'll have to believe me. I've shown it a million times. But we just simply pull our Fibonacci retracements from the high to the low. Let's pinpoint that low. There it is. Oh, I'm tripping. I'm tripping, guys. I'm tripping. There it is, right? And I did not have this one on the chart. This was not on there. But we had the $92,000 to $102,000 level. And isn't it funny, right? Astrology for crypto bros, but isn't it weird how we just wound up seeing turbulence, right? Not necessarily saying that has to be the top, but that is a major, major, major target, right? This was the first time I took profit on Bitcoin. Very small profit because I did expect a new all-time high. We did end up getting that. And we had other local Fibonacci extensions. I think it was pulled from here, right? There it is. 123,942. What happens, right? That's your second target. Now, I was actually hoping to come up to 130K, so I actually wound up taking a little bit more profit on the way down here. Not at a loss, right? Just as we saw the major weakness, as we started seeing this 50-week moving average getting tested, as we saw this high time frame money flow trending out, you have to say to yourself, hey, these money flow signals typically indicate the bear market is in when they come in on these higher time frames. So I just have to de-risk a little bit. So I did take more profit up there. And at the end of the day, if we do wind up scamming off into new all-time highs, I'm still partially exposed, right? But if we go into a bear market, I'm very happy with the profit that I've made. So, you have to have those targets, right? These targets were set all the way back when Bitcoin was around $30,000. I made a video talking about these targets, and I tell people, right, like you want to, I'm only up 50 grand here. I want to make 100 grand. Well, at the end of the day, this could have been the top of the bull market. The market does not care what you're going for, right? The market cares, again, about liquidity, price action, and like liquidity cycles, business cycles. You could say the 4-year cycle, right? So it's always best to DCA into the market long-term and DCA out long-term, right? Not the same thing for like leverage trading, but that's how you want to handle it long-term. And I was actually doing this the other last night on the chart, guys. It's like, I'm trying to look at this, right? And I'm just trying to come up with something to say here that is like, oh my God, this looks good. And almost as a joke, right? And like I think this is a good way to explain this and kind of like show this to people. I feel like a lot of people are upset, right, that I talk about these bearish signals, right? But I don't make the rules. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I would just say Bitcoin up and to the right all day, every year. But, why am I concerned here? Bearish divergences, high time frame money flow coming out. And you can see this weekly money flow continuing out here, guys. This is the real big signal here that has indicated the bear market every single time. Come back over to the Bitstamp charts for some more price history. There's your weekly money flow crossover. I do this almost every single day. There's your money flow crossover, right? Here's your money flow crossover. Actually, got the first one right here, right? You wiggle sideways, massive dump into the bear market. You wiggle sideways, massive dump into the bear market. You wiggle sideways, massive dump into the bear market. So when you see this weekly money flow coming out, that is a very alarming sign, right? It doesn't mean you can't get retracements. It doesn't mean there's not going to be relief along the way. But over time, that is where my real bias comes from for looking for lower highs and lower lows to come to continue into somewhat of a bear market, right? Whether it comes down to 70, 50, we'll cross that bridge if and when we get there. But, And just to prove this, right? I'm not just bearish for no reason. Obviously, the signs are here. You got the higher highs. You got the lower highs. On the weekly, this is a massive bearish signal this late in the cycle with money flow coming out. But if you flip this upside down, guys, I would have no choice, right? Even if you flip the candle colors, right? We'll turn, they're going to be the wrong color, right? But I'll make those purple. I'll make these blue, right? If I was looking at this chart and I invert market cipher B, and I change the color of the money flow. Again, full disclosure here, guys. This is backwards. This is not what the chart is showing. So if you just tuned in, this is not what the chart is showing. I am literally forcing this by changing the settings. I would have to say, oh my God, right? And forget the 50-week moving average, right? I would have to be saying, well, hey, maybe we're coming up to major resistance or major support, right? Obviously, I can't look left here because I inverted the chart. But what do we have here, right? If the chart looked like this, where we had massive weekly bullish divergences with our money flow trending to the upside, I would have no choice, right? I have no emotional bias. I would have no choice to be like, oh my God, this is probably bullish. This might be the bottom, right? And that would be me calling the bottom, right? And they'd be like, oh my God, well, hey, maybe we get up here, and then once we break up here, like, let's send this thing into another massive bull run. The only problem with this, guys, is that I've literally flipped the chart upside down, right? So it's like, I think this really helps people, right? So if you showed me this chart and I didn't know what it was, and you told me to do analysis on this chart, I would have nothing to say other than this looks super bullish. Now, if you flip this upside down, or you just revert this back to what it actually is, There's Mrs. Candles with my Aztecian cactus moss water, please. You gotta put it in my hand. Aztecian cactus moss water, please. Thank you very much. Let me get a hand sniff. Let me see it. Woo! She dropped it on the floor. Be careful. It's going to explode. If this explodes, it's not my fault. Lackluster. Little foam. But obviously, I would have no choice but to say that's bullish, right? But if we start to revert the chart, right? Well, let me just do this real quick. Let's just undo it. It'd be easier to do it this way, right? If I just flip this back normal, what do I have to say here, right? It's just the opposite, right? This is why the chart looks bearish, right? If I flipped it upside down, I flipped everything backwards, it would look super, super bullish, right? So hopefully that helps some people out, right? Because I know if you're not used to looking at the charts, or even if you are, right, it's like, yeah, but we've had weekly bear divs before. It's not just the bearish divergences. It's also the money flow, right? I don't know. Maybe some people found that exciting. I'm literally trying to invent content here, guys, because there's not much to talk about. All right, let's see here. Never tell people what they want to hear. Be yourself and speak the truth. Well, there we go. I'm speaking my truth. And I hope my truth and the chart truth is wrong, but it is there and it is factual. All right, let's see here. Shout out to Dave Hagen said, hey, speaking of astrology, tomorrow is the new moon, which traditionally is bearish for BTC. So there's also that. Shout out to Dave. Dang, I was hoping that was the bullish. I got to remember, full moon bullish. Full moon bullish. I always forget that. Dang. Well, that would not be on our side. All right, let's see. What does the dot chart look like inverted? I don't know if I even want to pull up the dot chart, if I'm being honest. Why didn't money flow rotate into alts? Well, it did, right? It did. It just happened back here. And I just don't think it was the alt season that everybody was hoping for, right? So, again, can you see the alts rally? Yes, but that is not me calling for a massive alt season, right? I cover this almost every day. If you're looking for a alt rally, right? I'll just call it an altcoin rally. We need Bitcoin to retrace up, right? On that retracement, we're hoping that Bitcoin dominance falls, which is getting a pretty nice pop to the upside right now. But if you were able to get that, I think that's really the only argument I can come up with for some kind of an altcoin rally. So there you go, right? And, it is, when I bring up these bearish things, guys, it is kind of a lose-lose situation for me, right? Because telling people what they don't want to hear, well, also just, like, telling the truth. And then the other thing is, too, like, if the bearish case plays out, you'll have, like, a select few people that will be happy that someone was out there pointing these things out. But most people are just going to be mad at that, right? Like, they're not going to care. They're just going to be like, I don't know, right? So it's like, I hate talking about this, right? But I am just like, I have a responsibility to come up here and just, say what it is, right? I don't want to come up here and be like imagine if I was saying that at 108K, right? Obviously, this was massive support, but money flow was all coming out. Everything looked super bearish, right? And we were very suspicious. And this is why I wound up taking profits up here, right, on my spot bags, because it just looked bad, right? Like, I have to, right? And I make the moves that I talk about, right? Like, it's not like I'm, oh, this looks super bearish, guys. Like, I'm buying, right? Like, I just share with what I do, right? I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just sharing with you guys what I do. Oftentimes it works out because we know how to read the charts very well. But, there's a reason for it, right? Like, imagine if I were just like, oh, guys, massive support, like, moon, all-time highs. Like, how could you be bearish right now? And then it just rolls over, right? Like, I just could never do that. And, that will happen sometimes. Like, I've been wrong before. I will be wrong again, right? Like, maybe, whatever. Like, maybe we did rip up to all-time highs here. But it's, I'd rather be wrong and have the charts be wrong, right? Than just, like, say something that I believe to not be true and just see what I actually believe play out, right? Like, imagine if I was just being like, guys, we're going to all-time highs. Just hold on to your altcoins. Altcoins are going to the moon. And then we just absolutely nuke. I just never do that. You're never going to get that on this channel. You're never going to get emotional bias. You're never going to get some hopium for clicks. Nothing like that. I care much more about being accurate, right? Let's see. Thank you for your honesty. Truth hurts sometimes, but it's for the best. Absolutely. And here's the thing, guys. It's not going to last forever. It's not going to last forever, right? And that's why I always say, if we do end up, whether we get the retracement, if we do end up seeing the bigger dump come in, whenever we come down here, right, like the next biggest levels of support, we've brought this up down here, right? You have the macro value area high sitting between $70,000 and $67,000. If we get accepted in there, right, we're probably looking down towards about 59, deviate below, maybe into the low 50s. At that point, I will be open to looking for the bottom, right? Now, if the charts are calling for it, right? If not, unfortunately, I'm going to have to continue to come up here and be like, I don't know, guys. I'm looking for lower highs and lower lows. But we don't know, right? It's not going to last forever. Maybe we just come down here. Potentially the bottom comes in, and, I'll be the first person to let you guys know, right? And then we can start talking about price going up, right? And a lot of people who are, and this is if the charts are right? Maybe the charts aren't right. Maybe it just goes up, right? But again, speaking based off of the information I have. At that point, right, everyone's thinking, oh my God, bull market continues, 100, 200K incoming. Like, you're an idiot if you think the bottom is not here. Maybe that's true. But down here, they're going to be like, all right, now we're finally entering a bear market. And what does that do? That puts them off sides to be looking for bottoms. That's where these are the dips they're not going to want to buy, right? And, although we did not have euphoria in this cycle like we did back here, you have to understand that, one of the things I talked about many a times was one thing to look out for if you don't get euphoria is be careful, right? No one wanted to buy all the dips that should have been bought, right? Maybe not that one, but this one and this one, people were horrified, right? It was almost like people did not want to hear that this could be a macro bottom, like when I talked about this, right? They're like, no, we're going lower. This is the bear market. Bitcoin's down more than 20%. It's a bear market, by definition. And I'm just like, I don't know, like maybe, but the charts are telling me I'm bullish, so I'm going up, right? I'm just going to listen to the charts. I will be wrong at some point. I have been wrong in the past. I have to be transparent about that. But, people don't want to buy this. People don't want to buy this. This is massive fear. Don't buy the dip, right? Where do people want to buy the dip? It's when they're in disbelief that the cycle could be over, right? And I don't know. I don't really know the sentiment out there, to be honest, outside of the community, just because I don't really watch crypto content. But I can imagine that a lot of people are saying high or low. Massive higher highs, right? How could you be bearish? High, low, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, 200K incoming, right? Now, is that wrong? No. If you want that to be the case, I will say you're really, really praying that your 786 holds. Very sketchy situation here, right? So we got to get going quick if you want that to happen. And just because you bounce off here does not mean the higher high will come in. It's the same thing back in 2021, right? How could you be bearish? We're putting in a higher low. You're an idiot, right? That's what they say. That does not guarantee an all-time high. Sure, it could offer support. It can give you a push up, right? But you got to get above that 50-week moving average that was sitting right there. But you couldn't do it. Money flow was coming out. Trend is more likely to continue down. And what happens, right? Then people go, oh, my God, now we're in a bear market. Fine, we're in a bear market. And they should be looking for the bottom to come in, right? 8K, 5K, 3K. Literally people calling for 3K here. Insane. So anyway, I digress. I just want you guys to be hopefully on the right side of the trade. It's not financial advice. I could be wrong, as I say all the time. If you watch the show, we're right way more than we're wrong. And again, I pray that I'm wrong, right? I do. Let's see. And it took 4 months to reach it, and that's another thing too, right? What happened here, like it's almost a very similar wonky kind of range that happened here, right? And this did take a long time, right? This is almost worse sentiment than when you're just nuking to the floor, right? It's like, oh my God, we're bullish. Oh my God, now we're bearish. Oh my God, we're bullish. Oh my God, we're bearish. Oh my God, we're bullish, right? But if you're just patient and you understand how the high time frames work, and there's a high probability of a high time frame lower high and a lower low, you can kind of just remain patient in here. So it's eerily similar, guys. Not only from a structure perspective, but also from a time perspective, a cycle timing perspective, and a timing perspective from just like looking at this as a fractal, right? Right, it's like not far off of like almost the same exact amount of time. Very similar, right? Like this could go on for quite some time. I pray this is not the case. This is brutal for content, brutal. But anyway, battle bot trading, make the bots fight and keep the profits. Shout out to New Earth Guardian. That's not a bad idea. FTX crash caused the big dump. Yeah, I mean, there's always a narrative, right? But more often than not, right, the technical signals are there way ahead of time. Way ahead of time. Yeah, the massive bearish divergences on the monthly, the 2-week, the weekly up here. Again, show me the charts. I'll tell you the news every single time, right? There's your massive bearish divergences. Very ugly. Your high time frame money flow is coming out. And then eventually the thing that spooks you comes out, right? But of course, right, if you understand your bearish from up here, then FTX comes out, it winds up making people think that's what makes the dump. And I'm not saying it doesn't have an effect or that's not why the dump happened. It's just I don't really know, right? This is part of what fascinates me about the charts, right? It's like I've never once in my life been like, man, I should have traded the news that time. Never, right? It's usually, oh, I'm in a trade, and then someone's like, oh, did you hear that really bearish news? I'm like, what was it? They're like, oh, or really bullish news. And it's like, oh, I'm in a long position off some technical indications, but hey, I'll go with the bullish news. Sure, that's great. Right? It almost happens like that 99% of the time. Again, I'm not saying the news doesn't have any effect on the market. I'm not saying it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, like, the charts are typically indicating what the news is going to be, right? The only time news gives you a move is when it's unexpected, right? And again, like even then, right, in the case of FTX, right, like the signs were on the chart already. So there you go. I just would never recommend trading the news, right? If it was that easy, like, oh, let me just wait for the news to come out and then buy, right? Even if you are right long term, you're probably not going to get a great entry. Really depends. Let's see here. We are going to take a look at some of the altcoins, guys. I'm not going to spend a ton of time on the alts, but let's see. Shout out to Simano, said, I know it's not popular opinion, but maybe instead of stressing out about what happens, it's better to trust God. I am trying to learn that in my personal life, my friend. I like that. Shout out to, who said that? Shout out to Simano. I like that, bro. Tony pinned that. Ethan Solana, yeah, let's go ahead. I'll take a quick look at Ethereum for you guys. Let's pop over here to our ETH chart. And this is actually kind of a similar situation that we can look for. If we do get the rotation on Bitcoin back into the volume profile, it's kind of a similar situation. We have the golden pocket, the POC, the 786. We have the golden pocket, POC 786, right? So just because you get above that POC does not mean that you guaranteed have to rotate to the high. So if we wind up getting in there, could be a very, when we talked about this before, I kind of thought about that. If you can get some bear divs up there, lose the POC, might be able to get the bigger drop down. Almost exactly what happened on Ethereum. We talked about this as it was forming, right? Because I would be in that Bitcoin short if Bitcoin put in the bear divs, but it did not. It didn't take out the high. But Ethereum did, right? Higher highs, lower highs, money flow comes out, you lose the POC, back down to the low, and now we're attempting to lose this volume profile. So on ETH, if we take a look at the daily, VWAP attempting to get a crossover here, or not attempting to get a crossover, but it is curving up. Money flow is generally, I'm going to have to darken this again just so we can see it a little bit better. I got to change that to my default. But yeah, it's coming out locally. Yeah, I mean, you want this money flow to come back up. Your VWAP, you got to wait for this green dot. I'll be paying attention to this VWAP crossing over the zero line, giving us a green dot. If that could drag up your money flow, same thing as Bitcoin, right? If you could reclaim the value area low, right, we can get that money flow to cross into the green, then you can look for the bigger push through the profile. But if we don't get that, right, and this money flow continues out and we can't reclaim the value area low, I have to look down here. We got the previous value area high at 2669 or 2670. Can't reclaim this, right? This will be support, maybe, just maybe, right? And the other thing down here is, like, we don't have any massive bullish divergences. I would love to see the confirmations down here. We just don't really have them on the higher time frames. So we can get the push down here to that value area high. This will be important support. We've already held this as support once. This is not like a golden pocket or 786 where it has to hold the first time, or I prefer to see it hold the first time. I don't mind if this gets tapped a couple times. But again, it's like when we take a look at these higher time frames, this 6-day money flow crossing into the red, weekly money flow crossing into the red, this would indicate that the high time frame trend will continue down. Right? So if that is the case, I would expect to come back down in here to this local volume profile, 26 value area high sitting at 2672. POC sitting at 2532, and then your value area low comes in here at about 2461. So, of course, if we cannot get the rotation back in here for the bigger push up, and we can't reclaim that value area low, I will be looking down here, massive support. Maybe we get the bounce. If you can't hold it and get accepted in, I will eventually be looking for that full fill of the range. Right? This would be the bearish case, which I would say the higher time frames are pointing to. The thing with the higher time frames here, in this case, that's the 8-hour, you could get the retracement first, right? So, like, the biggest level to watch right now is this value area low, in my opinion. $2,900, right? Get back above there at the end of the day, technically, and you are holding higher lows, right? Technically. It doesn't really step on any of the money flow, but, technically, if you hold on to these higher lows and you get back in here, you could potentially look to continue your uptrend. Low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. And then this golden pocket, 786, is now tapped, so that's not valid no more. And then pretty much what I'd be looking for there is if we get the rotation in, POC at about 33.54, flip that to support, push into our next big zone of resistance, sitting here between 36.50 and 39.43. And this is obviously confluent. Is it I think it's pulled from this high to the low. Make it this high. So there you go. You got your anchored VWAP in there, pulled from the all-time high. You got your golden pocket and your value area high. And your 786, right? So get back in here. If you're going to look for that full rotation of the volume profile, got to get back above that value area low. And hopefully, another thing that you would need with that is this money flow on the daily coming into the green. Locally, I mean, overall, you are, just draw your trend line. Technically, this is trending to the upside. But this winds up scooting out, right? It kind of invalidates that. So the hope is that you reclaim this with your money flow coming up. I just don't know how high probability that is. Talking about ashwagandha in the chat. Shout out to Joe, said it'd be funny if Japan announces that they're buying crypto instead. Imagine that's the black swan. That's the golden swan, we should say. Shout out to Golden. It's completely cooked, maybe. Chat, are we cooked? Shout out to Rob, says, not going to spend a lot of time on altcoins, same as those short streams of yours. Shout out to Rob, the crypto snob. I wish I had a good argument against that, but I just don't. All right, let's move on. Shout out to Rob, the crypto snob. We're going to continue to look at the altcoins here, hopefully for not, hopefully not for too long here. Deep fried. Shout out to BGSP. Let me drink some of this Aztecian cactus moss water real quick. All right. Cardano. Yeah, we can take a look at Cardano. I'm going to take a quick look at Solana first. Let's go. So Solana, look at that, guys. Look at that. Losing the value area low. Come on, TradingView. You got this. I know it's tough. So obviously, as we were testing this, not yesterday, the day before, right? Past couple of days. I just didn't go live yesterday, right? But testing this value area low, what do we have? Money flow coming out. Not necessarily what you want to see for holding the value area low and pushing into the major level, right? Obviously, that could have happened. Money flow is pointing against that. Next major level of support, in my opinion, for Solana is going to be the daily and the weekly, sitting down here between $113 and $105,000. Solana's at $105K, guys. $105, right? So if we could get down there, I'm going to pull up the 2-day real quick. I mean, here's the thing, right? Let me just make sure you don't have any MPOCs here, because if we have an MPOC here, this might be nice support. So I have no MPOC on the weekly. I have no MPOC on the monthly. Do we have a daily MPOC? It's not going to load. I don't even think I can go into bar replay mode to load these. It used to work, right? Because these only load so many candles. Used to be able to go into bar replay mode to get those MPOCs to load up, but it's not working. So if somebody could let me know if there's an MPOC down here, that'd be great. Because if it is, then maybe we have support. But if not, guys, the next major level is going to be sitting down here between $113 to $105, not 1,000. So what I would like to see down here is, again, same thing as on Bitcoin, right? You got the red dot on the 3-day. You got the red dot on the 4-day. You had the red dot here on the 2-day, giving the early indication that these VWAPs were probably going to cross over and give you a red dot. If we could push into this level, I would love to see some high time frame bullish divergences, right? Because then, right, like what do I have down here? I don't have a lot to look at for a massive bounce, right? We have money flow coming out. We have no real high time frame bullish divergences. What do you get? A lower high and a lower low. And yes, you had your money flow fake back out into the green, but remember, money flow is all about directional trend. More often than not, it's not that you can never get a massive fake out, right? But in this environment, the trend is the most important thing, right? These are more often than not, if you have a green wave, a nice green wave coming out smoothly like this, it is going to be a lower high and a lower low, right? Or just like making a little lower high here, all right? Continuing the overall downtrend. So if we can get there, then we can maybe have some high time frame bullish divergences. Maybe this 3-day comes down a little bit more. We have a nice 3-day bull div. And again, I wouldn't necessarily expect that to launch you into new all-time highs, but it could give you a little bit of a better chance of a bigger retracement, right? Major target above is going to be the POC and anchored VWAP, which has now moved. I don't believe... Yeah, you don't really have as much in there. So really the POC, right? So I'll just kind of move this down to the point of control. Point of control, anchored VWAP, sitting at about 145.57. Major resistance. We talked about this even here. Major resistance, hold the low. POC is next. Hold above the low. Doors open to the POC. Hold the low. Doors open to the POC. Couldn't break above it. Money flow comes out. You're looking for the continuation down. But the nice thing here is if you get the high time frame bull divs, it would be a little bit better, in my opinion, for a bigger retracement, maybe into 145.82. And then if we get above that, right, we have a lot of resistance in here, but eventually you can look for a bigger move through the profile. I'm not saying this is super high probability, though, but it's just how the volume profiles work. And at the end of the day, right, like you don't need to necessarily come down and tap these key levels. Of course, I always prefer to see that. It's more often than not going to come tap those. But if we wound up pushing up and getting accepted back into this profile, well, what would you still have, right? It wouldn't be into a major key level, or at least not one that I have on the chart, but you would have bullish divergences on those higher time frames, such as the 2-day or the 3-day. Right? So at that point, it's like, all right, well, cool. Maybe we can get a bigger push up. So there you go. This is the next key level, $113 to $105. Shout out to CoinSpirator. Thank you for the super chat, brother. Said, Frankie, will you do a tutorial video on Warbucks? Shout out to CoinSpirator, bro. I just finished the video today. I think, Tony, we might as well just drop it tomorrow, right? Because I actually shot the video a couple times. It got messed up. And there's an Easter egg in this video, guys. That has nothing to do with any value. It's just like a funny Easter egg. I don't know if anyone's going to notice it, but try to pop the Easter. Try to find the Easter egg. And I will be giving away, guys. I thought we were actually giving away 10 $5,000 challenge funded challenges, and I'm also going to be giving away one $10,000 instant funded account. No challenge, just instant funded with the $10,000. And then we're giving away 10 of the $5,000 challenges in that video, so don't miss it. It's going to be first come, first serve. I tell you how to get the giveaway in the video. So yes, we're probably going to drop that tomorrow. I was thinking about holding it until Christmas week because I want to put out some kind of content during Christmas. I'm going to be traveling with my family. I'll probably do market updates or something like that, but I was going to, maybe we'll just drop it. I've had a couple people ask for it, so shout out to CoinSpirator. It's coming, baby. It's coming. Let's see. Just make sure I didn't miss anything here. Shout out to Vision Pulsed Fat Boy. Said, I'm a fat boy. Shout out to you, brother. Instant funded will deliver. Shout out to Stupid Bitcoin. I'm not sure exactly what that means. How much does it take to receive a giveaway? Shout out to Samu. You don't have to pay anything to enter the giveaway. It's just I talk about how to do it in the video. It's free to enter, obviously. Shout out to Toby. Shout out to Toby. I'm just going to call you Toby. Says, I just joined. Are you sell BTC USD? I don't know exactly what you mean by that. If you could reword it, I'll try to answer that as accurately as I possibly can. I assume you probably mean, am I bearish or bullish? Is Frankie suffering from dementia? Maybe in this price action, potentially. We hide Easter eggs during a different time of the year. Shout out to Rob. It's a Christmas egg. It's Elf on the Shelf. It's free funded accounts on the shelf. Shout out to Samu said I won on the last week's stream. Go to the free Discord. Actually, you have 1 day left. You have a week to claim. Go to the free Discord. Go to the help center, and that's where you could claim your prize. 1 hour VWAP looks like it's going to fake out the crossover bearish. No, yeah, that would be bearish. Let's double check that real quick. Let's take a look here. Yeah, so we actually talked about this yesterday, right? Like, I don't love these inversions on the VWAP, right? If you don't know, the VWAP indicates whether you are going to get a green dot or a red dot incoming, right? Typically, when the VWAP crosses that 0 line, right, you come down, red dot prints. Red dot prints, VWAP crosses over. Typically indicates an ebb or flow to the downside. Don't trade these as buy or sell signals, obviously. But VWAP rolls back up, crosses over the 0 line. That is very likely going to print a green dot. Now, it doesn't mean what this indicates to me, right? When you have this inversion, what I really like to see here, and you could just, like, even in the past, right? Like, even this one, right? Kind of flat. You get the green dot. You kind of roll back over. Did you get? Yeah, you got a little fake out here, right? So you get the green dot, and then it just rolls right back over for a red dot. In this case, you just printed another instant green dot. But yeah, this indicates to me that this is like a weak VWAP. What I like to see here is a nice rounded VWAP, right? It gives it a little bit more strength. This kind of indicates to me that even if it is going to cross over, it's kind of going to do what it did back here, where it's going to be a green dot and then an instant red dot. And with money flow coming out, the thing you had on your side here was the fact that your money flow was trying to come back up. It was already in the red. Here you have your money flow coming out. So that does kind of make me a little bit worried of something like this, right? Green dot, red dot, money flow continues out, bigger drop to the downside, even if that green dot gives you a little pop up. And again, like, I am very suspicious of this low here. Come on, TradingView. You can do it. This low here at about $83,500, right? This is really the level that I'm waiting for. Could we bounce where we're at now? Maybe. I don't like the front run of that level, if I'm being honest. You also have like 12-hour red dot printing. You also have your 8-hour VWAP on its way to the downside, potentially looking to print a red dot. You have your 30-minute, come on, TradingView, money flow, which was coming out. Now it's trying to come back up. But yeah, I mean, it's just, there's not a ton of confluence down here for me personally. How much of the April 8th wick do you think might be filled? I'm holding out to buy back in for that wick. Shout out to Imagination of Innocence. How much of the August 8th wick? I don't know exactly what you mean by that. If you could clarify a little bit. Yeah, am I tripping? Oh, April. I am tripping. Maybe I do have dementia, guys. Early onset dementia in the crazy price action. Chop Suey. Yeah, shout out to Seek Parabolic. Talk about chop. I do not know what to... it's like I don't even know what to make these titles, guys. It's just like Bitcoin Chop Fest. Moonboy Permabull thus gets you wrecked. Shout out to Jake. Yes, I could not agree with you anymore. Cardano, yeah, we'll take a look at Cardano right now. April 8th wick, yeah, like the early onset dementia here, guys. All right, let's take a look here. So this, I mean, for me, I would like to see this taken out. How much of it do I think will fill? I'm hoping we could take it out, right? And my long-term thought process is that we will probably lose this low. So again, if you're just tuning in, right, my long-term thesis here based off high time frame money flow is that the chart looks very bearish on the high time frames. Indicators can fake out, right? But it's not just the indicators. It's not just the high time frames. It's also the timing of the cycles and other technical indications that have nothing to do with the indicator. But when we see these high time frame money flow crossovers, if you scrub back to the beginning of the stream, I just went over this. I'm going to go over it very quickly. This does indicate the high time frame trend is very likely to continue to the downside. Same thing back here, right? And also very similar. People hated me back here. And not that people hate me, but I could just tell people do not like what I'm talking about. I'm glad I stuck to my guns here. But same thing here, right? My thought process is, not impossible to get the drop from here maybe. But if you are going to get the bigger retracement, maybe a little bit of a Santa rally, it would still be like, even if you get a pretty decent push up, it could just still be a lower high for lower lows, indicated here by the high time frame money flow. And the big levels that I'd be looking for on the way down would obviously be this next volume profile, right? So we're going to come down and take this profile, right? I'm expecting this entire wick to get filled. I would not, like, if we'd come down here, right, I would not expect, like, half of the wick to get filled and then get a push up, right? I would 100% be expecting this to get taken out into key support. So hopefully that answers your question. April 8th, not August 8th. I don't know why I thought that. All right, let's take a quick look at Cardano. And again, I think what a lot of people are looking for here, guys, is tell me that Cardano or tell me that my altcoin is the one that just looks different than every other one. But at the end of the day here, guys, right on plan. How much of this wick are we going to fill? Well, I'll just kind of talk about how we got here, right? Number one, inside our upper value. Money flow. I can even probably pull up the daily, right? Money flow is coming out through this profile. Daily money flow is trending to the downside. Yes, it came up a little bit here, but it is trending down. Money flow crosses into the red right here. You get the big liquidation wick, which does two things. Number one, it fulfills your thought process of the move to the downside that you were expecting anyway, but it also gives you this massive wick that brings you, hilariously enough, down to 28 cents, which is the value area low of the range. Now that this money flows in the red, what do we anticipate? Lower highs and lower lows, and lower highs and lower lows, and lower highs and lower lows. We got a little support on the value area high, and this bounce would be expected to be what? A lower high and a lower low. Next target, once you break inside the volume profile, again, if you're new here, these volume profiles have a magnetic nature to them. Once you lose the value area high, the next highest probability place for price to go is the POC of the range. Funny how you get the drop directly into the POC respected to literally the tick. And then you kind of wiggle around. You put in this nice little 4-hour bullish divergence that we looked at the time. Lower lows, higher lows. Money flow tries to come up. You get a little bit of a bounce, but this does not invalidate your higher time frame money flow still being in the red. Your higher time frame money flow still being in the red, anticipating lower, not only lose the value area high, POC is next, and you are also eventually going to anticipate a loss of the POC and a full fill of the range, right? Especially when money flow is on your side, right? Sometimes you could get support on the value area high and continue up, right? But in the case of money flow coming out, not only are you expecting a downtrend based off that, but you're also saying, well, once I lose this key level, this is what gives you the context of like, well, once I lose this, we talked about this, 50 to 54 cent level is major, major support, 54 to about 50 cents, right? You lose those lows, you get accepted into the profile, you're looking to go down to the POC, and eventually it could be wonky, right? You could even get moves back up to the value area high. You're not expecting it to be in a straight line, but once you lose that POC, the next expected place for price to go is the value area low. And on top of that, you could think of the idea of filling the wick, right? They say where it wicks, it sticks. Oftentimes, price likes to fill these wicks. Bitcoin obviously filled its wick very soon after getting it, right? Same idea there. But right on track, right? Like, can you get the bounces on the POC? Yes, right? But the higher time frame money flow is not invalidated, right? And now we're losing the POC. If we can't reclaim this, even if we do reclaim it, right? I wouldn't necessarily be expecting all-time highs. But at the end of the day, if you can't reclaim this, POC / 786 Fibonacci retracement from the low of the wick to the lower high. Can't reclaim this, well, you're going to be looking for what you would expect anyway, which would be a continuation down to the value area low. This is your next key level of support. Is it guaranteed going to hit there? No. Is it high probability? In my opinion, yes. And yes, even if you get another bounce to the upside, right? Could still come down to that value area low. So your next major level of support at this point, right? We were at the last level here. Once you lose this, the next place, the only next place I can look is this value area low. This wick has taken out all of the support, right? We could have potentially had this weekly level down here, right? But it got taken out by that wick. So we just have nothing underneath us until we get down to the value area low at 28 cents. So that's going to be the next major level of support. And it would just make a lot of sense, right? Deviate below the low, go to the POC, flip the POC, go to the high. Deviate above the high, go back in, back to the POC, lose the POC, back to the low. Hold the low, back to the POC, flip the POC, back to the high. And then eventually you can get a breakout, right? But you have to have your money flow on your side. You don't have your money flow on your side here. You also have a weekly red dot and your weekly money flow crossing into the red. This indicates long-term downtrend. On a long-term downtrend, you can have significant rallies back to the upside. This, even a push up to 65 cents, I'm not saying that's guaranteed or expected, but even if you got this, it could potentially still be a lower high on the higher time frames to continue your downtrend, unless this money flow really rips into the green. So Sentiment and plan remains the same here. Watch that 28-cent value area low. Very important. Is there something bullish? Narrative this time is different. Like if there's anything bullish on the chart, right? There's not a lot, right? Like I could pull up low time frame things that might look decent, right? Like you can argue maybe this daily money flow is coming up, right? It's not even like really super bullish, right? It's like still deep down here. If this was about to cross into the green, right? Like for example, if this was a daily, which you actually did have the daily bullish divergence as well, right? But let me just take this money flow off the chart real quick, right? If this money flow crossed into the red on the daily and we got a daily bull div, which we did here, higher lows, lower lows, into the POC, and this money flow was about to cross into the green as we were cooking up here, well, that would look bullish because then money flow would come in the green, and then you can look for high time frame continuation to the upside. And then the POC is support, right? The POC is obviously big support. But if your money flow is not pointing towards this being a massive bounce for a big continuation to the upside, which, of course, it's not, right? Like money flow is just deep in the red here. And we've already broken the low. So it's like maybe that trends up, right? But I would still just like, in order to like get a significant move to the upside, I mean, you got to break above 54 cents again, like major resistance. Take everything off the chart. You could just see, right? Like you lost your lows here. Here's your balanced price action. You've lost that now. Now you're coming into your lower balance. Does that make sense? Here's your upper value. Here's the fair value, right? High, low, high, low. When it goes above, it's expensive. When it goes down below, it's cheap, right? You get the rotations of the volume profile. Once you imbalance or impulse out of that range, price seeks out fair value. So you expect to come play around in this range. And this is what we look for. And sure enough, here is Cardano. I almost said Ethereum. Here's Cardano slipping through the profile, right? Again, in line with your money flow. People always say, well, you know, hey, Frankie, I love the volume profiles. I'm nailing it. I'm getting the longs from the lows. I'm taking profit at the POC. Even here, you didn't get the full rotation, but you could have gotten stopped out in profit. You get another long position back into the value area low, back to the POC. You flip the POC, but look at your money flow. It's in the green on the daily, indicating the long-term trend would be low, high, higher, low, higher, high, and you're already expecting a full fill of the range. So how do you know when this is going to break down? Well, you have a much better chance of it breaking down when money flow is coming out, not only on the daily, but maybe on the higher time frames, which obviously we had, right? So you get the bigger drop down, and then at that point, once you lose that value area low, you're saying to yourself, where's my next significant area of balance? Well, it's down here. Well, this is probably where price is going to hang out, and it just has a magnetic nature to it, right? Like fill the range in full. That's just what we look for. So there you go. Yeah, shout out to Jake says, or Lakeville says, Bitcoin needs its own terms, not bear or bull, volatile chop or bing bong. Yes, Bitcoin is definitely in bing bong right now. That is for dang sure. 2-hour bull div still trying to form on BTC. I mean, yeah, it's technically not invalidated just yet, right? And here's the thing too, right? Let's assume we're in the medium stages of a bear market. Don't shoot the messenger, right? Let's just say that's true. I think it's high probability. Doesn't mean it's factual, right? Doesn't mean it's guaranteed. But let's say we are in a bear market, right? Just in a bearish environment. Some of the bullish indications are not going to be as strong, right? Like even a bull div with money flow coming up in confluence is not going to be as bullish in a bear market as it is in a bull market, right? Because if you have say you have a daily bull div, let's say you have let me just try to find a quick little daily bull div here. Let's see. All right, so like here, I mean, this isn't like the best example, but here's a daily. Yeah, it's like trying to find like a daily bull div with like clean money flow coming up. Well, what I'm trying to get across here is like even a 4-hour bull div, right, in a bull market is going to be much nicer in a it's going to be much nicer in a bull market than a bear market. Why is that? Well, it's very simple, right? You have to understand how to separate the time frames. You have high time frames and low time frames. You could even have a bullish 4-hour time frame that could indicate a significant rally. But if you have weekly money flow crossing into the red, 3-day money flow crossing into the red, that 4-day money flow or that 4-hour bull div with money flow coming up could give you a significant rally, but a significant rally on the 4-hour could just be a retracement for a lower high and a lower low on a higher time frame. So in a bear market, right, like I could even find I try to find, like, okay, so here's a perfect example. Here's a daily bull div to your bodies, right? It's not to the wicks, but still a bullish divergence. Whoops. There's your lower lows. There's your higher lows, right? So you got a nice little bull div here. Now, you don't have money flow. I mean, locally it's coming up, right? But you have daily bullish divergence, right? And I would argue even if that money flow was coming up. But there's your daily bull div. What does it give you? It gives you a little 15% sneeze to the upside before just rolling over and coming back down. And that's where your high time frame bias has to come into effect, right? If your high time frame bias is, okay, we are in the midst of a bear market, weekly money flows crossed over into the red. If I see a 4-hour bull div or a daily bull div here, yes, of course, I'll take that long every day, right? And it will play out, right? But I understand in the context of the overall market, right, I would not be viewing this as oh my God, daily bullish divergence, massive new all-time highs, right? That kind of change your mindset, right? To yes, this could be bullish. Yes, I can make a lot of money on that 13% move to the upside, but I would have to expect that to be a lower high and a lower low, right, on a higher time frame. So even with, right, and we don't even have that, right? We don't have bull divs down here on the daily, right? If we did, right, I don't know if you're going to print it, right? Like if we come down and take this, let's just say we come down and take this low with a daily bull div, assuming it doesn't get invalidated, right? This would be bullish on the daily, could indicate a significant rally, but that would not step on a lower high and a lower low if your high time frame money flow is coming out. Does that make sense? So, what is bullish on the chart, I think was the question. I mean, I could point to, like here, you have a 4-hour bullish divergence maybe looking to print. Lower lows, higher lows. Now, your money flow, maybe if that's the bottom of your money flow wave, it comes back up. Yes, that would be bullish for some kind of a push to the upside, but that would not necessarily invalidate a lower high and a lower low on a higher time frame, right? Very similar to the example I just showed you back here, right? Could be bullish, right? But not necessarily for the long term, right? So if I could say, and I wouldn't even say this is super beautiful either, right? It's not super clean, but even if it was, right? Like, well, maybe get a 4-hour bull div. But that would not have any effect really on the long term, right? I would need to see, if you want just a simple thing to look at, guys. Oh, there's your 4-day money flow. Just crossed over into the red. That is the first time we've seen that. We've been looking at this forever, ever since back here. We've been waiting for this money flow crossover into the red. There it is. With the 4-day red dot now printing as well, right? And we knew this was very likely to happen. Why? Because the 3-day printed the red dot and has money flow coming out, and the 2-day printed the red dot and with money flow coming out. If you get it on the 2-day and the 3-day, you have to think about it like this, right? Like those red dots are going to leak into the higher time frames. If the 2-day VWAP, like this is how the time frames work, right? If you have the 1, the 2, the 3, the 4, and the 5-day. Let's say this is market cipher B, and this is your VWAP crossing over the 0 line. If you're we'll just say 3, 4, 5-day, right? If my 3-day VWAP is crossing over, giving me a red dot, my 4-day VWAP is probably doing this, right? Not crossing over the 0 line, but approaching. And then the 5-day VWAP will be rolling over, but it'll be slightly behind the 4-day, right? Red dot's printing on the 3-day, red dot about to print on the 4-day, and then the 5-day is looking to print a red dot, right? It's like a domino effect. Think about it like that. It's a perfect analogy, right? Think of it as like a domino. 3-day crosses over, gives you the red dot. 4-day is about to print. 5-day is rolling over, right? And then maybe the weekly is like just starting to top out, right? But they typically fall over on themselves. Red dot, red dot, red dot. Right? And then if you get a green dot here before this red dot prints, I don't want to get super confusing here. Right? Maybe I'll just pull it up on the live price action because I think it'll make more sense. And it's never super clean either, right? Like you get like little oscillations on the VWAPs as well. But like if we just look at this, right? Here's your 2-day. red dot printing. We looked for this last week. We got it on Saturday. That was the thing I said. Watch out for that 2-day red dot over the weekend, right? Once that 2-day red dot prints, we come over to the 3-day. What's the 3-day VWAP doing, right? Well, if we zoom in here, 2-day red dot prints here, 3 days about to print, right? A little bit behind the 2-day, right? So there's your, I can't mark it because it's, not letting me lock onto it, but let's go to the 4-day. Come on, TradingView, right? 4-day was all the way up here. So it was like about to round over. The 3-day was looking to print the red dot, and the 2-day red dot prints, right? So the 2-day red dot prints first, then the 3-day follows, the 3-day follows, then the 4-day follows. And that's how we predict these things, right? It's very simple. I don't know if I explained it well there. Yeah, the big dump should be after the major bull trap. I mean, this is what we saw. I mean, I don't know if you would call... Come on, TradingView. I don't know if you would call this like a major bull trap, but yes, I would agree with that. A lot of people say, what's max pain, right? Like people are like, well, we need max pain, which a lot of people would say like max pain would just be the move to the downside, right? Which is definitely possible, but it's kind of subjective, right? Because in my opinion, right, max pain would probably be like sucker everybody back in. Oh my God, we're bullish, and then roll it over. In my opinion, this scenario is much more painful than that scenario. This is kind of rip the Band-Aid off. This is tease everybody, get them excited. Everyone's already losing faith and like, the sentiment's terrible, right? It's like if you do this, it's like you lure those people back in. They're like, oh my God, this time is different. And then it rolls over. That could be super max pain in my opinion. Both are max pain I think this is a little bit more painful. So yes, and that's why I would be very careful if we wind up getting, that's why I would be very careful if we end up getting the retracement into the 50-week moving average, right? Get everyone super excited, bada boom, maybe even sweep above it, and then get the rollover. Because you could do this very easily, right, while keeping all the high time frame money flow in the red, right? So we approach here, and all the money flow is still in the red on the higher time frames. The money flow is the filter, guys. The money flow is what tells you if you are looking for fading, the money flow is the filter to let you know if you should be fading the lower highs or if you should be like longing for massive moves to new all-time highs, right? What happens back here, right? Money flow crosses over. Now, this is a different scenario, right? Frankie, this money flow crossed over on the 3-day back here. Why were you not saying this was the bear market? Well, the reason for that is it's a different context. You had plenty of time left in the cycle. The chances of Bitcoin putting in a 7% new all-time high and going to a bear market, although not impossible, was very unlikely. That was not the camp that I fell in, right? You're also above your 50-week moving average. You're approaching into key support, right? And then once you start coming back up, your money flow crosses into the green, trend continues up, right? But now we have money flow in the red. Any retracement in here, now we're below the 50-week. This is now resistance. So this is a high I would be willing to fade any day of the week if that money flow is still in the red when you get up there. So yeah, that is definitely something that you can see happen. But it's definitely not promised or guaranteed, right? There's like, I think that's like the biggest thing that people need to work on is being like, well, we haven't gotten the big relief yet. Is it plausible to look for relief? Yes. Is it guaranteed? Absolutely not. Like, I would love a retracement. Send it back down, right? But at the end of the day, putting the lower high in here and just dumping from there is not impossible, right? Nothing is guaranteed in these markets. If you think they are, it is the market will humble you. Let's see. Not 2 hour, 2 day. Yeah, the 2-day bull div is not printing yet, but it is potentially still setting up. You still have a good amount of room to come down here. So again, like it's like exactly what we looked at the beginning of at the end of last week. Watch for that 2-day red dot. Now, I never know, right? Like, there's no way for me to know if we're going to get the two-day red dot on Saturday, put in the bull div that day, right? But the plan still remains the same, right? 2-day red dot prints. The reason I was looking for a bull div here is just the formation of this money momentum wave, right? We were looking to print a red dot here, and that says to me, well, hey, if we're going to put in a red dot and this momentum wave comes down and puts in a higher low, that gives me a bullish divergence. But what do we need to get that bullish divergence? Well, we need to put in a lower low, right? So if we can get that lower low, you still have a decent bit of room here for the 2-day to come in and put in that bull div. Again, in to your key levels of support that you have down here, closer to 78,550. Right? So hopefully we can get something like that. Come into the support, get the bull divs, and then maybe we get the retracement from there if we're going to get the retracement, right? I would feel much better about a retracement coming off of a massive 2-day bull div than off of just a green dot on the 2-day with no actual divergence, if that makes sense. So there we go. Yes, definitely still in play there. Oh, I never finished explaining that. Somebody asked why did money never rotate into altcoins? It did, right? It did back here. Now, it wasn't the all blow off top. Every alt makes a new all-time high, which is what everybody wanted. But that was the only time that we had any kind of interest in the market, right? And it was nowhere near the interest that we had back here. And I think the reason for that is a lack of liquidity, right? We had massive money printing back here, much different scenario. Here, this is like very similar situation, but just no liquidity. So yes, you got a little bit of a rotational altcoin season, not the one that everybody wanted, but that I would say, I mean, and then again, guys, like, the other thing you kind of think about there is what was happening. We actually mentioned this, not that I thought that this was going to be the top, but we were thinking about it like Trump launches his meme coin, Solana trenches are going crazy. It's like those are super toppy signals, right? It doesn't necessarily mean the top of the bull market, but it's definitely a very toppy signal. And maybe just like when we look back at this cycle, you guys know I'm in the camp that this was the true all-time high. Euphoria, social interest, all that stuff, all peaked here. This was like an inflated dead cat bounce, sweep the highs, send it back down, right? So to me, this was the true top of that previous cycle in 2021. From a sentiment perspective, and even here, right, we take out the all-time high by pennies. Maybe it's similar here, right? Maybe it's similar. All the euphoria, even though way less euphoria than the last cycle, all that euphoria comes in on the first top. And then the second top squeaks you a new all-time high, but with less social interest. And then we'll look back at this cycle and be like, very similar to 2021. That was the top. Maybe this was the big sign that it was the top. Yes, not numerical top. I know that. Same thing back here. But social interest back here was literally creating a divergence. Massive social interest. On the second top, way less social interest. That is quite literally a divergence, right? But just not on a technical indicator. Like Google search term analytics, if you're wondering what I'm saying there. Pretty similar here. Like, although not massive, like we didn't get anywhere near the interest of 2021, but that makes sense because there was a lack of liquidity, right? But still, social interest, bearish divergence, right? So could play out very similar. It's like these are like all the things that I say, like not just from a timing perspective, not just from a money flow perspective, not just from a technical divergence perspective, but also from social interest. Like there's so many things that go into this that make it look a lot like 2021. I hope it's wrong. I hope it's not true. But I'm just like seeing information and bringing it to your attention. 2024 December pump was because the government announcements, and the election and all that as well. Another big thing that was bullish for crypto, right? We always talk about almost all significant tops come in on major, major bullish news. Back here, you had the Coinbase IPO coming in literally at the top. And then the next one was the ProShares Futures ETF launch, also launched at the exact top. Even the El Salvador announcement, right, making Bitcoin legal tender, literally at the tippy top of that move. 2019, the Facebook unveils the Libra stablecoin, like minutes away from that 2019 top before the pandemic. 2017, CME Futures launch, literally at the top, right? So it's like maybe we look back to this cycle, and it's like, oh, right? And we're not going to know because at the end of the day, if this thing decides to just scam back up, we don't know what it's going to look like, right? It's going to, we're going to be able to know when we look back, be like, okay, well, now we know that this was the actual top or this was the actual top. What was the news there? Well, super, super pro-crypto president. How could that be bearish, right? Well, technically, we got another little pump here. But if the top is in, we'd be looking at it just like this. Coinbase IPO literally at the top. Sure, you got another numerical all-time high, but again, social interest here. Coinbase IPO, top. Social interest here. Pro-crypto president comes in here, right? Just some thoughts. Good perspective. Shout out to CD. Just, sharing my thoughts, guys. Again, I could be wrong. Yep, I sold in November last year as memes took charge. Yeah, shout out to Seek Parabolic. Huge. I remember I was talking to people at the top of last cycle. I was like, yeah, like meme coins were going crazy. Like it was kind of obvious. And of course, hindsight's 2020. Obviously you'll see the technical indications, but the technical indication even here, guys, like as confident as I was, right, saying that, sure, I'm not impervious to emotions, right? I still feel them. I just don't act on them, right? So it's like when we see this, everybody's calling for a higher low. 30K is the bottom. How could you be bearish? We're putting a higher low in. Like, don't you understand market structure? And it's like, yes, but that's not like you can't just look at that, right? You have to understand you have massive high time frame divergences, money flow coming out on the higher time frames. Not all bounces on areas where you'd look for a higher low are going to be created equal. So, and it's not until, you finally plunge into the bear market where you look back and reminisce and you're like, oh, yeah, like meme coins were doing this. This person said that on this day. Elon Musk on Saturday Night Live. Like, how could that not be so? How was that not so obvious? But again, like hindsight's 2020. You could see the technical indications, have the high confidence. But at the end of the day, even here, I could have been wrong, right? As much as I was saying, guys, weekly blood diamond, this doesn't look good, right? Money flow coming out on the weekly. This looks like we are starting a bear market. Lower highs and lower lows are to be expected, literally at major resistance here. I could have been wrong about that, right? I can't say I'm 100% guaranteed this is the bear market. I didn't say that back here, and I can't say that. I said it's very high probability. I don't really see an argument for new all-time highs. I'm going to go with this, and it wound up being right, but I could have been wrong there, right, at the end of the day. So all that stuff we're going to have to kind of look back on and try to figure out, I think that's kind of the if this is going to be a bear market, right, like, that's kind of what we'll look back on. Like, yeah, it's like pro-crypto president. Like, that's massive bullish news. It would make sense that the sentiment peaked here. And then maybe it's like 2021 where you get a little numerical all-time high to print the divergence, and then you send it. We'll see. Only time will tell. Shout out to Sincere. Says, factoring in the lack of money printing and involvement of the Fed, TradFi this cycle is different. Yes, I agree. In that it's a whole different game now. We have to start a whole new analytical framework. Yes, I agree with that, right? People always ask me, like, what about the money printing? What about QT ending? That's your bullish argument, right? And two things to be true at the same time, right? That's your bullish argument, but and that's valid, right? Totally valid. I understand that, and this is why I can't say that it's a guaranteed bear market, right? Because if the money printing decides to kick in, when and if that actually takes effect, I'm not if, like when, right? Because that's got to happen at some point. When that takes effect is hard to guess, right? If it happens sooner than later, then maybe we, wind up going into new all-time highs sooner than later, and we have our plans for that. But you can't look at that stuff and then also say. You can't look at that stuff and just completely ignore all of the bearish charts on the higher time frames, right? Two things would be true at the same time. You could have bearish signals on the high time frames, and you could also have some bullish narratives. So yeah, yes, that's I totally agree with all of that. I think people expect me to be like, no, it doesn't even matter, right? Like, it could matter, right? I'm very explicit about that. If they start printing money and the stock market melts up, right, I would be in the camp that, we're not just going to stick to the 4-year cycle. We would, money printing is good for risk on assets. If that actually starts happening in a big way and the stock market melts up, money printing happens, good for risk on assets, equals, right, maybe not 1-to-1, right, but that would facilitate an environment where risk on assets would do well. I would not ignore that, just like I wouldn't ignore, just like I don't think people who look at the bullish narrative, they should not ignore the bearish high time frames. I won't ignore the bullish narrative if it comes into play, right? But as a technical trader, I'm always going to go with the charts because, again, maybe we're not going into a traditional 4-year cycle bear market. I think maybe one of the higher probability scenarios is the money printing does matter. And the high time frame bearish signals also matter, right? This is a bearish chart regardless of what the news is, right? Maybe the charts are right. Right? Maybe the 4-year cycle is also still pretty right? Where the top comes in around where you'd expect it, money flow comes out, massive bearish divergence, social sentiment divergence, very bearish, right? Maybe that puts you into some kind of a bear market, but then maybe the money printing kind of steps on a traditional 70-ish% drop to the downside and gives us an earlier bottom, right? So not only should you take both of those bearish and bullish evidence pieces into account, but they could also both be true at the same time, right? I wouldn't just say because you have this, you have to go down 70%, right? And I'm not even saying that you have to go down, right? Like, I believe that to be the higher probability based off the charts for sure, but I can't guarantee that, right? I think maybe one of the higher probability scenario is 4-year cycle, timing makes sense, charts super bearish, right? We could still just continue down, but maybe it's not going to be that 70% drawdown that people would expect. Maybe we're further along in this thing than people realize, right? Maybe we go down 58% instead. And at that point, right, like I think people could stomach this, right? If we went down 70% and we were in it for the long haul and we had to go down to, say, you know, diminished returns and losses over time as the asset matures and the market cap gets higher, right? This bear market was a higher percentage than this bear market, so on and so forth. But, you know, if we had to go down into the 30s, that's really hard for people to stomach, right? But maybe both things matter, right? That's also possible, right? Chart's bearish. It just is what it is. Maybe that's true, but maybe also the money printing comes in, right? Maybe the new Fed chair comes in, and they're going to be super pro-crypto. They're going to be super dovish, right? Well, maybe we have a little bit of time for that to happen, right? Maybe there's a little bit of time to come down. And don't forget, there's also a big accumulation period in a bear market, right? So it's not like, you know, you have to come down here and then V-shape recovery to the upside, right? You know, more likely than not, what would happen is you get the bigger drop to the downside, right? Maybe we come into this volume profile and you kind of just like wiggle around down here for a while, right? And then maybe Fed chair gets replaced, super dovish, right? And maybe it happens sooner than later. Maybe you know, we can take off sooner than later. Maybe the drawdown's much less. So I 100% look at both sides, right? I'm not just going to sit up here and be like, we're bearish, the charts are bearish, 70%, bank on it, right? As soon as something changes, I'm going to take that into account, and you should too, right? You can't just go with all bullish stuff or all bearish stuff. You have to look at both sides of the coin and come to like an educated conclusion. Let's see. What about ETH? Shout out to 3T. We actually took a look at ETH. If you scrub back to the beginning of the stream, we looked at it right after Bitcoin. Also will shine Q2 with some repeating similar moves to early last cycle. I think outliers like Link. Yeah, shout out to Cyrus. Or Sincere, sorry. Yeah, shout out to Mikey. I can almost guarantee you guys, when we are coming down and it's looking like a bottom is forming, a lot of people are going to be like, this guy's going to get caught off sides. And maybe I do, right? Like, I don't say that to be like, I'm never going to get caught off sides. I'm never going to be wrong, right? Like, no one's ever right 100% of the time. But, like, it's just, like, how it goes, right? People don't want to hear the bearish stuff when it's happening, right? Big warning signs. And then even down here, people are, like, so sick of it. Except when you start talking about the bullish stuff, people are a lot happier to hear that. But you will get, like, a lot of the perma bears that are like, oh, we just entered a bear market because they thought this was still a bull market, right? They're like, oh, we're going to bounce. Oh, no, but look, we're holding on to support. Look at this. Look, guys. We're holding support. That's the bottom. And then they lose it. We come into the bottom, and they're like, all right, fine, now we're in a bear market, right? 3K incoming, and then back up. So we'll see what happens. Short stream. Yeah, shout out to shout out to Jesse. I really, especially in this environment, I've been trying to actually, no, I'm not going to say I've been trying, because obviously if I was trying, I would be ending the streams earlier. I've been wanting to make the stream shorter, I should say. Alts are def super cooked. Just need one last little rally, man. Shout out to Kitty. I can feel the pain in your voice, bro. I feel you. Is there a 4-hour bull div on BTC? It looks like it could form. It's for me to look at this as a bull div. It's hard, right? Because like you need the green dot to print. Like if you can get this green dot to print when that VWAP crosses over, higher lows, lower lows, you will technically have a bullish divergence. The only thing I would not like is that, or I do not like, is that this momentum wave is getting real close to cracking this low. If we can get a pump from here and get this to be a slightly higher low, that would look a lot cleaner. But at the end of the day, once this bull div prints, as long as this momentum wave doesn't shoot all the way down here, which I wouldn't think is the case, you would technically have a 4-hour bullish divergence. But again, I don't think it looks super pretty. I prefer to see this low taken out at 83,700. Thank you, Golden. Shout out to Patrick. Yeah, Golden dropped the 50 memberships in the beginning of the stream. Shout out to Golden. Drop the golden emojis in the chat. Thank you for comforting us. Shout out to Reacherus. I try. But again, I have a boss here, guys. My boss is the chart. And like I showed before when I flipped everything upside down, if the chart looked like that, I would have no choice but to be bullish. I just don't want people, a lot of times people will be like, in this, I remember this from last cycle. Let's come up to the weekly, right? It's, I want people to, like, the biggest purpose of these live streams is to be educational, guys. I'll talk about all this stuff. Massive bearish divergences. Money flow coming out on all the higher time frames, guys. I'm looking for a lower high and an eventual lower low into the bear market. And then, when we're over here talking about this, because, like, this is essentially where you have to start talking about it. Obviously mentioned, I didn't have my channel up here, but we would have been talking about these bear divs. But then, like, people, right? Like, you gotta step on the emotion in your brain, right? People will be like, what's going on, man? I thought we were bearish. We just pumped 47%, right? And, like, you never want to have this emotional, team-based tribe mentality, right? Like, haha, we pumped 47% and you were bearish. Here's the thing. It's like, yes, I am still bearish. This pump to the upside does not step on those higher time frames. So you got to be careful, right? Because it's very easy to, be like, oh my God, like, maybe you're resonating with a lot of this stuff, being like, wow, like, a lot of this does look very similar, right? Like, it's like, I see where he's coming from. And then you get the pump up and you're like, oh my God, wait, no, now we're super bullish. We're up 46%. That's bullish, right? Not all pumps are created equal, right? A pump of 47% on dumping money flow with massive high time frame confluences, bearish confluences, is not the same thing as massive bearish or massive bullish divergences at massive support. Right? Like, you might have a 4-hour bull div in here, daily bull div maybe, right? And you get the big pump. You're like, oh my God, the bottom's in, right? You have to zoom out, right? You have to have the high time frame perspective. And that's why I've kind of been screaming from the rooftops, just be aware if we were able to push up to that 50-week moving average, that does not change my overall sentiment, right? People would be like, what happened? I thought we were bearish. That's why, we've been looking for a potential retracement here. But that would not change my sentiment, right? People are like, what happened? I thought we were bearish. I'd be like, if the money flow was still coming down, like, we still are bearish, right? We're just had a retracement, right? The price moves in ebbs and flows, and ebbs and flows, and ebbs and flows, and ebbs and flows. That's your trend. These are your waves, right? Money flow indicates the trend. The red and the green dots indicate your ebbs and flows, right? Ebbs and flows and 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 ebbs and flows, right? So when your money flow is coming up on the weekly like this, you're expecting a high time frame continuation to the upside, right? On this big dump to the downside, why was I looking for a higher low and an eventual higher high into new all-time highs? People are like, how did he know that? Well, your money flow is massively in the green, right? And it's multiple things, but I'll just talk about it from a chart perspective. Your money flow is still massively in the green, right? Above the 50-week moving average, all that other stuff, right? So the anticipation is your long-term trend to continue up based off the money flow. This massive dump here, yes, it's a massive dump, but in the context of a weekly trend, this is a healthy pullback, right? When you look at it on the 1 hour or the 5 minute, right, obviously those massive dumps look super scary. It's like, oh my God, how is this not a bear market? Right? Well, you're on the 1 hour time frame. You're on the 5 minute time frame, right? You have to zoom out, right? When you look at it from a weekly, you have plenty of room to come down and put in higher lows and higher highs and higher lows and higher highs. Why is that not my bias here? Well, wouldn't you say, well, hey man, like, this is still a healthy higher low for a higher high. Look at your money flow and the timing of the cycle, etc. So I don't want to repeat myself too much. All right, let's see. Shout out to Lord Bra says, when nobody is talking about Bitcoin, that's usually when it starts, when it makes its move and starts to rise. That is true. That is true. More often than not, I would say, shout out to Southern Cali says, what does money flow represent? Overall trend. Overall trend. All right, there we go. Show us H-bar, Frank. All right, take a quick look at H-bar. Here we are on an extended live stream here, guys. Man. Took out the lows here. Yikes. Let me pull this up on our actual template. So all I can really do here is like pull up the next support levels, right? And there is your key support being lost, right? Now, again, overall bias remains the same on Bitcoin, right? Which would translate to the altcoins as well, right? This was the only levels of support we could have looked at. We got a little bit of a bounce off the golden pocket. 786 offered nothing. So I could take this off the chart, right? And obviously not shocking that you're losing that support. Here's your big liquidation wick, bringing you down to the value area high and a little bit below. So again, when I look at this, you can even take off your local volume profile here. We'll take this off, take this off, we'll take this off. Checking what that said. So when we look at this, right, we could look at this as a, somewhat of a profile. It's not very clean, but, you would say, hey, here is your volume profile. We are now imbalancing out of the profile. Where is price likely to gravitate to? Think about Cardano, what we just looked at on Cardano. Next key level of support. I got nothing here. That 786 that we just showed and lost, that was the last level we had until this value area high at 8 cents. Next key level of support, going to be around 9 cents at the value area high, right? Would also make a lot of sense to fill this wick in full. The only thing I would say is if you get down here, that's your next major level of support. Could you get a bounce there? For sure. But looking at your higher time frames, 4-day money flow tanking, 5-day money flow tanking, 6-day money flow just crossed into the red recently. Weekly money flow still in the red. Let's check the 2-week maybe. 2-week money flow about to cross into the red as well. So your next key level of support is going to be about 9 cents at your value area high. You're imbalancing out of your upper profile. This is where price wants to seek. Maybe we get, it's hard for me to say that, we're going to get some kind of like there's no opportunity for a 2-day bull div there. Why? You're already making a lower low on your momentum wave, right? So there's no opportunity to put in that higher low. So, this is definitely the next place to look. If you get accepted below this value area high, major key level, guys, you lose this level decisively. Like even if we get a bounce first and then continue down, why would we anticipate that? High time frame money flow, of course. If you get accepted below this 9-cent level, the next major level to look at is going to be looking at that magnetic POC sitting at 4 cents. So pray that this can hold. And, again, even if we get down there, it's like I don't know how high probability is that that's going to be the bottom. But that is your next major level. Who knows? 9 cents. Get accepted in here. Only other place I can look is that POC at 5 cents. And we will have other local levels that we can look at as well. But, high time frame, this will be your next major level of support. So there you go. That's what I would look at on Habar. Shout out to Imagination said, I see a massive inverted cup and handle forming on the 30-second chart. We are going down for sure. Let's see. Oh, my God. Back on the 1-second time frame here, guys. I can't do it. My personal money flow is tanking. Can you run a chart on LOL, please? Shout out to Imagination. I don't know if that's a joke or you're asking me to look at a coin. LOL. Shout out to Imagination. My personal soul money flow is cruising to the downside as well. Shout out to Panda the Prophet said, remember when Stoop Kid left his stoop? Good times. Frankie Candles never leaves the chart. All right, guys. With all that being said, I'll give you one more check-in on Bitcoin here, not on the 1-second time frame. Let's pull back up our clean chart here. Come on. So levels to look at right now, of course, for the most part, you got to get above $87,000 in order to get into our next major level of resistance, sitting between 90,600 and, call it 92,400. If we can't reclaim that, the local levels I'll be looking at are right here, right? If you can reclaim 85,520, maybe we can get a little rotation to the upside, up to the POC, 87,666, value area high, 88,222. Other than that, super choppy environment, guys. I would prefer watch this wick low here at 83,755. If I can get a confirmation down there, I might look to take a scalp. If not, continues down. We're looking to take out like the next major level. Like this would be a scalp if I were to take a trade off this local volume profile. It would be a scalp if I were taking a long off this wick here at 83.7. For the next big bounces, I would be looking down here between 79.5 and 78.550, taking out the low at 80,500. These are the big levels to watch. Level number 1 to the downside. And then the big level to look at to the upside. We'll just say, I won't even bring up 97K. I'll just bring up 90,600 to 92,400. Big resistance, big support. Maybe we take some scalps in here, but other than that, this is the big level. This is the big level. So there you go, guys. With all that being said, that's all the time we got for tonight's live stream. Thank you all for tuning in. I appreciate every single one of you. Try to smash that like button on the way out, guys. I know price isn't going up, but it does help pump Bitcoin. Every like buys $1 of Bitcoin. So for every like we get, I will put $1,000 into Bitcoin. That'll pump the price, right? With all that being said, that's all the time we got for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Shout out to Mikey. Shout out to Cryptic Crabman. Shout out to Jay Edits. Shout out to Imagination. Jesse. Darren Does Things. Rob the Crypto Snob. Tony D. Art P. And last but not least, Kitty Kush. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate every single one of you. That's all I got. Hasta pasta. Frankie Candles out. Bing bong!
Look what's next for me, Joe. I'm gonna get that second bell. Where the is it? They should have had them 2 bells ready. Spit shine for me.
Yeah. Head up in the clouds, dog, they saying I look stressed. I've been feeling down, pray to God that I'm up next. Remember when she blew me off, that's why I can't text. Now she call me petty, but I swear I can't forget. This ain't a test. Now they saying that I ball like Jerry West. Coming back for what is mine, can't take no less. I said go and take a shot, so I need your best. So nobody's into me, I don't got time, I'm not giving the energy. Too many people around me, I'm finicky. I do not mess with you, dog, you're not kidding me. You don't got way too close, I been up at the top now, so they all wait for the landslide. I up whose man's high, through it all, I stay the same, I swear to God.